The starship Freedom floated silently in the darkness of deep space. Inside the main research lab, Dr. Alan Mitchell stared at his computer screen with tired eyes. For 3 weeks he had been tracking strange energy patterns that seemed to pulse, like heartbeats across the void. No one else believed they meant anything, but Alan knew better. "You're still at it?" Dr. Samantha Wright walked into the lab carrying 2 cups of coffee. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and her eyes looked as tired as his felt. "Look at this pattern, Sam." Alan pointed to the screen. "It's not random. These pulses follow a mathematical sequence. Someone or something is creating these signals." Samantha handed him a coffee and looked at the screen. "If you're right, this could be the first proof of intelligent life beyond Earth. And if I'm wrong, I've wasted 3 weeks of our mission time." Alan took a sip of coffee and smiled. "But I'm not wrong. The Freedom was supposed to be studying a newly discovered star system, not chasing what the mission commander called space ghost stories. But the energy patterns had appeared suddenly one night when Alan was alone in the lab, and he couldn't ignore them. I've adjusted our deep space scanner to focus on the source." Alan pulled up another screen. "We should get a better reading in about 20 minutes. Samantha sat beside him. "The commander gave me a message for you. He said if you don't have something solid by tomorrow, we're changing course back to our original mission." Alan nodded. He knew Captain Rogers was being patient, but even patience had limits. 20 minutes later, the scanner beeped. Both scientists leaned forward as data filled the screen. "That can't be right," Samantha whispered. The scanner showed a massive object moving through space, bigger than any ship humans had ever built. It was changing course, heading directly toward them. "It's responding to our scan," Alan said, his voice shaking slightly. "It knows we're here." Samantha reached for the communication panel. "Captain Rogers needs to see this now." Within minutes, the main lab was filled with people. Captain Rogers stood behind Alan, his face serious as he watched the screen. "How long until it reaches us?" the captain asked. Alan checked the calculations. "At its current speed, about 6 hours. "Should we run?" someone asked from the back of the room. Rogers shook his head. "We can't outrun something moving that fast, besides it's already seen us. I'm going to send a first contact message on all frequencies." The next few hours were a blur of activity. The entire crew prepared for humanity's first meeting with alien life. Some people were excited, others scared. Alan felt both emotions as he continued to study the strange energy patterns, which were now growing stronger. 5 hours later, the alien ship came into visual range. It was beautiful, a massive structure that seemed to be made of some kind of crystal or metal that glowed with blue-green light. It moved with impossible grace for something so large. "They're sending a response to our message, the communications," officer announced. Everyone in the control room fell silent. The message came through first as strange sounds. Then the ship's computer began to translate. "We are the Vraxian Collective. We have journeyed far. We come in peace and wish to know those who share the stars." A cheer went up across the ship. "First contact, and the aliens wanted to talk." Captain Rogers sent a reply, introducing humanity and suggesting a face-to-face meeting between representatives. The Vraxians agreed. They would send a small ship to dock with the Freedom in 1 hour. Alan and Samantha were chosen to be part of the greeting team, along with Captain Rogers and the ship's diplomat, Grace Harris. They waited nervously in the docking bay. "Remember," Grace told them, "no sudden movements, follow my lead, and try not to stare." The alien ship docked with a soft hum. The door opened, and 3 tall figures stepped through. The Vraxians stood, nearly 7 feet tall. Their bodies were thin, with skin that shimmered like the surface of their ship. They had 4 arms and large, gentle eyes that seemed to change color as they moved. They wore flowing robes covered in symbols. "Welcome to our ship," Captain Rogers said formally. "We are honored to be the first humans to meet your people." The tallest Vraxian stepped forward. "I am Speaker Loth. We bring greetings from the Vraxian homeworlds." Its voice was musical, rising and falling like a song. The meeting went better than anyone could have hoped. The Vraxians were curious, asking questions about Earth and human history. They seemed especially interested in human science and religion. After 2 hours, Speaker Loth requested permission to scan the humans. "It is our way to learn about new species," the alien explained. "The scan is harmless." Grace gave permission, and a soft light washed over the 4 humans. The Vraxians watched a small device in Speaker Loth's hand. That's when everything changed. The 3 Vraxians stepped back suddenly. Their eye colors shifted to a dark red. They spoke rapidly to each other in their own language. Their voices no longer musical but sharp and angry. "What's happening?" Captain Rogers asked, looking at Grace. Before she could answer, Speaker Loth turned to them. "You are not as we thought. You are not divine children." "I don't understand," Grace said carefully. "What do you mean?" "You evolved from lesser creatures. You share genetic material with the animals of your world." Speaker Loth's voice was cold. "Now, you are beasts who gained intelligence by chance, not divine blessing." Alan stepped forward. "Does that matter? We've built civilizations, created art, explored the stars." "Silence, beast thing." Speaker Loth raised all 4 arms. "The holy texts are clear. Only those created directly by the divinity may touch the stars. All others are mistakes, dangerous to the cosmic order." The other Vraxians were backing toward their ship. "Please," Grace tried again. "We can learn from each other. Our differences—" "There will be no learning." Speaker Loth's eyes were now completely black. "The Vraxian collective has encountered your kind before. Beast species who rise above their place bring only suffering. The divinity demands balance." Before anyone could respond, the Vraxians retreated to their ship and sealed the door. Captain Rogers ordered them to try all communication channels, but the Vraxians wouldn't respond. Their ship detached and returned to the larger vessel. 2 hours later, as the crew of the Freedom watched in horror, the massive Vraxian ship broadcast a message to Earth. It bypassed all security protocols, appearing on every screen on the planet. Speaker Loth's face filled those screens, eyes black as space itself. "People of Earth, you have been examined and found to be beast-born, not divine children. Such species are dangerous to cosmic harmony. The Vraxian collective hereby gives notice. In 3 of your Earth months, we will return to cleanse your solar system. This is mercy. Time for your people to make peace with your existence. Do not attempt to flee. The stars are not for beasts." The message ended. The massive ship vanished into what appeared to be a fold in space itself, leaving the crew of the Freedom floating alone with the terrible news they now had to bring home. Earth had just met its first alien civilization, and they had 3 months to live. The Freedom returned to Earth with its terrible news. Panic spread across the planet. World leaders argued about what to do. Some wanted to fight. Others suggested hiding underground. A few even talked about trying to make peace with the Vraxians. No one had any good answers. Alan and Samantha were moved to a special research center in Colorado. The government wanted them to find a weakness in the aliens, anything that might help humanity survive. "Look at this again," Alan said, pointing to his screen. 2 weeks had passed since their return, and they had been working non-stop. The energy patterns we first detected, they changed when the Vraxians scanned us. Samantha leaned closer. "You're right. There's a reaction pattern here." They had recorded everything during the first contact, including the strange scanning light the Vraxians had used. Now they studied how that light had interacted with human bodies. "The scan missed something," Alan said, his voice growing excited. "Look at this energy field around our bodies. The Vraxian scan passed right through it like it wasn't there." Samantha adjusted the image. "What is that field? Some kind of electromagnetic pattern?" "I don't think so." Alan ran more tests on the data. "It doesn't match any known energy type. And look, it's stronger in some people than others." They worked through the night, testing their own energy fields and then asking other staff members to volunteer for scans. By morning, they had data from 20 different people. "There's definitely something here," Samantha said, looking at the results. "Everyone has this field, but it varies in strength, and it seems to change based on emotional state." A knock at the door interrupted them. William Garrett, the security chief for the research center, entered the lab. "The director wants an update," he said. William was a former soldier, tall and serious, with short gray hair and watchful eyes. "Any progress?" Alan showed him their discovery. William studied the screens with a frown. "I've seen something like this before," he said slowly. Alan and Samantha looked at him in surprise. "My Aunt Catherine studied strange phenomena for years," William explained. "Spiritual practices, meditation effects, unexplained healings. She documented energy patterns that modern science couldn't explain." "Could we meet her?" Samantha asked. William hesitated. "She's not exactly mainstream. The scientific community called her a fraud. We're about to be wiped out by aliens who think we're animals," Alan said. "I'm open to any ideas right now." 2 days later, Catherine Daniels arrived at the research center. She wasn't what they expected. Instead of some mystical-looking person, she was a practical woman in her 60s wearing simple clothes and sensible shoes. Her gray hair was cut, short, and she carried a worn leather bag filled with notebooks. "So," she said after they explained their discovery, "you finally found scientific proof of the human soul." Alan blinked. "The soul? That's not exactly—" "Call it whatever you like," Catherine interrupted. "Life force, consciousness field, spirit energy. Every culture in human history has known it exists. They just use different words for it." Opened her bag and pulled out dozens of notebooks filled with drawings, calculations, and observations. "For 30 years, I've documented people who can consciously affect this energy field. Healers who can ease pain with touch, meditation masters who can change their body temperature at will, ordinary people who experienced moments of impossible strength or awareness during crisis." Samantha flipped through the notebooks. "These measurements, they match our data," Catherine nodded. "Of course they do. I may not have had your fancy equipment, but good observation is good observation." "Can this energy field be strengthened?" Alan asked. "Could it be used somehow?" "Absolutely." Catherine pulled out another notebook. "That's what I've been studying most recently. People can learn to manipulate their own energy fields with practice." William, who had been quiet, finally spoke. "My aunt has some unusual ideas, but I've seen things I can't explain when I'm with her." "We need to test this," Alan said. "If the Vraxians couldn't detect this energy field, maybe it's our advantage." They set up a testing room. Catherine showed them simple meditation techniques to focus on the energy field. For days they practiced, measuring changes in the field strength. On the 5th day, something remarkable happened. Samantha, who had been practicing longer than anyone else, managed to extend her energy field outward from her body. The instruments showed a clear change. "I can feel it," she whispered, eyes closed in concentration. "It's like pushing outward with something that isn't muscle." As they watched, a pencil on the table near her hand rolled a few inches. Catherine smiled. "That's just the beginning." News of their discovery spread quickly through the research center. More volunteers came forward to be tested. Some showed naturally stronger energy fields than others. A young security guard named Lisa Reeves showed particularly strong readings. Under Catherine's guidance, she learned to manipulate her field in just 2 days. "It feels natural," Lisa explained. "Like I've always known how to do this, but forgot until now." The director authorized a larger program. They called it Project Awakening. Within weeks, they had identified 100 people with strong energy fields. Training centers were set up across the country. Alan worked with Catherine to develop a scientific understanding of what they were seeing. "It's like the energy field is an extension of consciousness itself," he explained to the military leaders who came to observe their progress. "It can interact with physical matter, but it exists partially outside normal physical space." "Can it stop Vraxian weapons?" a general asked bluntly. "We don't know yet," Alan admitted, "but we're learning more every day." The first major breakthrough came when they discovered that people could link their energy fields together, creating a much stronger combined field. 5 volunteers, including Lisa Reeves, managed to create a field strong enough to block a high-powered laser in a test. But there were problems too. Many people couldn't access their energy fields at all. Others could do it once, but not again. Some became sick with headaches and exhaustion after using their abilities, and time was running out. 2 months had passed since the Vraxian warning. Earth's governments were building weapons and shelters, but everyone knew it wouldn't be enough against the advanced alien technology. Then the satellites detected something entering the solar system. Not the main Vraxian fleet, it was too soon for that, but smaller ships moving fast toward Earth. Scout ships, William said during an emergency meeting. They're coming to check our defenses before the main attack. We're not ready, the director said, looking around the room. The Awakening project needs more time. Catherine stood up. Her voice was calm, but firm. Ready or not, it's time to show these aliens that humans are more than just beasts. It's time to awaken our divine power. The 5 Vraxian scout ships entered Earth's atmosphere 3 days later. They ignored all attempts at communication. Military jets scrambled to intercept them, but were easily outmaneuvered. The alien ships moved across the globe, scanning major cities. At the Colorado Research Center, Alan watched the satellite feed with a sick feeling. They're mapping our population centers for the main attack, William agreed grimly. Project Awakening had identified 300 people with strong energy abilities, but only 50 had completed training. They needed more time. The director called an emergency meeting. We need to show the Vraxians they're wrong about us, the director said. We need to demonstrate our divine power so they'll call off the attack. How? William asked. Our trained people are scattered across different bases. Catherine, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. Then bring them together. Make a stand. Show our strength. The group argued for hours. Some thought it was too risky. Others said they had no choice. Finally, the director made a decision. They would gather their strongest awakened at a single location, a small town in Nebraska called Riverdale. They would try to make contact with the Vraxian scouts from there. The next morning, transport planes carried the 50 trained awakened to Riverdale. Alan, Samantha, William, and Catherine went with them. Lisa Reeves was put in charge of the awakened team because of her exceptional abilities. By afternoon, they had set up equipment in the town high school. Satellites tracked one of the Vraxian scout ships moving in their direction. Remember your training, Catherine told the group. Your power comes from inside you. It's always been there. You're just learning to use it. Lisa led the awakened in meditation exercises. Their energy fields began to expand, becoming visible as a soft blue glow around their bodies. The scout ship is 30 minutes away, an operator announced. Alan watched the energy readings on his equipment. They're stronger together. The fields are connecting. As they waited, Paul Collins, one of the awakened, approached Alan. Paul was a construction worker with a naturally powerful energy signature. His younger brother Ryan was also part of the group. What if this doesn't work? Paul asked quietly. What if they just blow us up? Then we tried, Alan said. But I believe this will work. The Vraxians think we're just smart animals. We need to show them we're more. The scout ship appeared as a dark shape against the evening sky. It hovered over the town, much smaller than the main ship they had seen in space, but still impressive. A soft humming filled the air. They're scanning us, Samantha said, watching her instruments. Just like before, Lisa stood in the center of the school football field, surrounded by the other awakened. Their combined energy field had grown stronger, creating a dome of blue light visible to the naked eye. Now, Catherine said. Lisa raised her hands. The other, awakened, followed her movement. As one, they pushed their energy upward, sending a beam of blue light toward the Vraxian ship. The ship's humming changed pitch. It moved higher, as if trying to escape the light. But the beam followed it, making contact with its shimmering hull. For several minutes, nothing else happened. Then a voice came through all their communication devices. It was the musical language of the Vraxians, followed by the computer translation. What is this power? How do beasts possess the divine light? Alan grabbed a microphone. We are not beasts. We are humans. What you're seeing is proof of our divine nature. We ask you to reconsider your attack." Silence followed. The beam of light still connected the awakened to the ship. Then the voice returned. "This is impossible. The holy texts say only the divinities chosen can manipulate the sacred energy." "Your texts are wrong," Alan replied. "Or incomplete. We have this power too. It proves we are not what you think we are." The ship descended lower. A new scan swept over them, different from before. This one seemed to focus on the energy field itself. Suddenly, Lisa cried out. The awakened stumbled, their concentration breaking. The blue beam flickered and vanished. "What happened?" William demanded. "Their scan. It disrupted our connection," Lisa explained, breathing hard. "It felt like they were trying to pull our energy away." The Vraxian ship moved closer. A weapon port opened on its underside. "They're going to attack," someone shouted. Catherine stepped forward, her voice calm. "Join together again, quickly. Remember what we practiced. Defense formation." The awakened regrouped. This time, instead of sending their energy upward, they formed a tight shield around themselves and the entire school area. The Vraxian weapon fired, a beam of red light that struck the blue shield. For a moment, the shield flickered dangerously. Several of the awakened fell to their knees, struggling to maintain the connection. "Hold!" Lisa shouted. "Everyone, remember why we're doing this, for Earth, for all of us." Ryan Collins moved to the front of the group, strengthening the shield where it was weakest. The red beam continued, pushing against their defense. "I can't," Ryan gasped, his face pale with effort. Then his expression changed to one of determination. "Yes, I can." With a surge of energy that the instruments could barely measure, Ryan pushed back against the beam. The shield not only held but expanded, sending a pulse of energy back up the Vraxian weapon beam. The alien ship shuddered. Its weapon shut off. Everyone held their breath. Had they won? Or would the ship simply try another weapon? After a long moment, the Vraxian voice spoke again. "This requires consultation. We will return." The scout ship rose rapidly, disappearing into the sky. A cheer went up from the group, but Catherine raised her hand for silence. "This isn't over. They'll be back and they'll be prepared for what we did today." Ryan Collins collapsed to the ground, exhausted but smiling. "But they know now. They know we're not just beasts." "They know something," William agreed. "But they still have much more advanced technology and weapons. And the main fleet is still coming." The group returned to the school building to rest and recover. The energy use had left everyone tired. Some, like Ryan, could barely walk without help. Alan checked his instruments.
"What Ryan did at the end, that was beyond anything we've measured before. He somehow doubled his energy output." "Because he was protecting his brother," Catherine said. "And everyone else. Emotion strengthens the connection." Samantha looked
thoughtful. "So the key isn't just having the ability. It's the motivation behind it. The love." Catherine nodded. "That's what I've been trying to tell you. This energy, whether you call it divine or not, responds to our deepest humanity. Our connections to each other, that's the true power." As they discussed what had happened, a message came from Washington. Satellite images showed the scout ships regrouping in orbit, and beyond them, at the edge of the solar system, something massive had appeared. The main Vraxian fleet had arrived early. Earth had days, not weeks, to prepare. The world's military forces mobilized as the Vraxian main fleet approached Earth. Fighter jets, missiles, and experimental weapons were prepared for what everyone knew might be humanity's last stand. Meanwhile, Project Awakening raced to train more people. At the Colorado base, Alan and Samantha worked without sleep to improve their understanding of the energy field. Catherine guided more volunteers through the awakening process. But time was running out. 3 days after the Riverdale encounter, the Vraxian fleet entered Earth's orbit. 12 massive ships positioned themselves around the planet. Their presence could be seen even in daylight, strange dark shapes interrupting the blue sky. "They're jamming our communications," William reported during an emergency meeting. We've lost contact with bases in Europe and Asia. The director looked grim. What about our awakened teams? 200 fully trained now, Catherine said. Another 300 with basic abilities. We've positioned them at key locations around the world. Not enough, the director muttered. Satellite images showed smaller ships deploying from the Vraxian fleet. The attack was beginning. The first strike hit London. Energy beams cut through buildings like they were made of paper. Paris was next, then Moscow. The pattern became clear. The Vraxians were targeting major cities. They're trying to cause maximum panic, William said, watching the destruction on the monitors. Hitting population centers first. Earth's military responded, but conventional. Weapons barely damaged the Vraxian ships. A few were forced to retreat temporarily, but they always returned. We need to coordinate our awakened teams, Alan said. The shield at Riverdale worked against one scout ship. Maybe together they can do more. The plan came together quickly. The trained awakened would focus on protecting civilian evacuation, Protes rather than trying to stop the Vraxian attacks directly. They didn't have the numbers to save every city, but they could create safe passages for people to escape. Lisa Reeves led a team in Chicago, using their combined energy to hold a shield over the main highways leading out of the city. They successfully protected thousands of fleeing civilians when Vraxian ships attacked the area. In San Francisco, the Collins brothers and 20 others maintained a protective dome over a hospital where hundreds of wounded were being treated. When 3 Vraxian ships concentrated their fire on the hospital, the strain became almost unbearable. I can't hold it much longer, Paul Collins gasped, his face dripping with sweat. His brother Ryan grabbed his hand. Together, remember what Catherine taught us. It's not about strength, it's about connection. The brothers locked eyes, finding new reserves of energy. Others in the group joined hands, strengthening their bond. The shield held. Around the world, similar scenes played out. The awakened protected what they could, but it wasn't enough to stop the overall destruction. Within 48 hours, every major city on Earth was under attack or already in ruins. At the Colorado base, now one of the few safe locations, the director called for one last desperate meeting. We need to hit back, not just defend, he insisted. How? William asked. Our weapons can't penetrate their ships. Catherine, who had been quiet, finally spoke. The energy the awakened use, it affected the scout ship at Riverdale. It's the one thing the Vraxians respond to. But we'd need much more. Power to affect the main fleet, Alan said. That's right. Catherine looked around the room. We need to connect all the awakened, not just in small groups, but everyone at once. Samantha looked doubtful. Is that even possible? The farthest we've managed to connect people is about a mile apart. We've never tried with this many people, Catherine replied. But the energy field exists beyond normal space. Distance shouldn't matter if the connection is strong enough. It was a desperate plan, but they had no better options. Using what remained of Earth's communication systems, they sent instructions to all awakened teams. At precisely 3 p.m. Mountain Time, everyone would attempt to join their consciousness into a single unified field. Alan helped set up monitoring equipment. Even if this works, what exactly are we trying to do? Attack their ships? Create a planet-wide shield? Neither, Catherine said. We're going to communicate. Show them the truth about humanity. All of us, not just a few. The appointed time came. Catherine, Alan, Samantha, and William joined hands with the other awakened at the base. Around the world, hundreds of others did the same. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then slowly, Alan felt something new, a sense of connection that went beyond the room. In his mind, he could feel others joining, first dozens, then hundreds. It's working, Samantha whispered, her eyes closed in concentration. The instruments showed energy levels rising all over the base. The blue glow that normally surrounded individual awakened began to spread, connecting person to person, building to a brightness that filled the room. Around the world, the same glow appeared wherever awakened were joined together. From space, it would have looked like Earth was developing a new network of blue light that wrapped around the planet. Inside the connection, Alan could sense the thoughts and feelings of others, not as words, but as emotions and images. He felt Lisa's determination in Chicago, the Collins brothers' protective instinct in San Francisco, and thousands of others, each adding their strength. Catherine's voice guided them all, though she spoke only in the Colorado base. Somehow, her words carried through the connection. Don't fight. Don't attack. Share. Show them who we are. The unified energy field continued to grow. It expanded upward, reaching toward the Vraxian fleet. One by one, it touched each of the massive ships. Inside the connection, Alan felt something new. Alien minds, confused and afraid. The Vraxians were being pulled into the shared consciousness. Images flowed from human to Vraxian and back. Earth's history, art, love, struggle, hope. The very things that made humanity what it was. Not just intelligence but compassion. Not just survival but sacrifice. Suddenly, a violent force struck the connection. The Vraxians were fighting back, trying to break free. The shock rippled through the network, causing pain to everyone connected. In San Francisco, Ryan Collins fell to his knees, blood trickling from his nose. Still, he maintained his place in the connection. Hold on, he told the others around him. We can do this. In the Colorado base, Catherine's face was pale but determined. They're afraid. Their entire belief system is being challenged. Keep going. The struggle continued for what felt like hours but was only minutes. The Vraxian resistance was strong, but the human connection held. Gradually, something changed. Some of the alien minds stopped fighting and began to listen. Then a single Vraxian ship broke formation. It moved away from Earth, then stopped, hovering alone. What are they doing? William asked, his eyes still closed, maintaining the connection. No one answered. No one knew. The tension grew as they waited. Had they reached some of the Vraxians? Or was this just a new attack strategy? Finally, a message came through on all communication channels. It was Speaker Loth, the Vraxian who had first condemned humanity. We require discussion. Cease your mind touching. We will pause our cleansing while we consider what we have experienced. The attack had stopped, at least for now, but the cost had been high. As the connection slowly dissolved, reports came in from around the world. Dozens of awakened had collapsed from the strain. Some were in critical condition, and in San Francisco, Ryan Collins had given everything to maintain the shield over the hospital. He had died still connected to the others, his final thoughts full of love and hope. His brother Paul held his body and wept. 3 days passed with no attacks. The Vraxian ships remained in orbit, silent and watching. Earth used this time to care for the wounded and mourn the dead. In cities around the world, people rebuilt what they could and prepared for the possibility that the war wasn't over. At the Colorado base, the mood was somber. Ryan Collins wasn't the only awakened who had died during the connection. 37 others had given their lives to maintain the global energy field. They died to save us all, Catherine said during a small memorial service. They understood the true power inside us, the power of sacrifice for others. Paul Collins stood silently at the back of the room. Since his brother's death, he had barely spoken. But his energy field had grown stronger, visible as a constant blue glow around his body. On the 4th day of the ceasefire, the Vraxians sent a message. Speaker Loth requested a meeting with human representatives. After much discussion, the world's remaining leaders agreed. The meeting would happen at a neutral location, an empty field in Central Australia. Alan, Samantha, Catherine, and William were chosen to attend, along with 5 awakened, including Lisa Reeves and Paul Collins. Military leaders and government officials would also be present. As their plane approached the meeting site, they could see 3 Vraxian ships hovering above the field, smaller than the main fleet vessels, but still impressive. What do you think? They want? Samantha asked as they prepared to land. To understand, Catherine replied. What they experienced in the connection challenged everything they believe. The meeting was set up in the open field. Simple tables and chairs faced each other under the hot Australian sun. Armed soldiers stood at a distance, though everyone knew they would be useless if the Vraxians attacked. Speaker Loth arrived with 6 other Vraxians. They moved gracefully despite the Earth's gravity, which seemed heavier than they were used to. Their skins still shimmered, but their eyes were no longer the angry red or black from before. Now they shifted between blue and green. "We have considered what we experienced," Speaker Loth began without introduction. "It has created difficulty among our people." "What kind of difficulty?" asked the human diplomatic representative. "Division. Uncertainty." Speaker Loth's musical voice sounded troubled. "For thousands of years, our holy texts have taught us that only those created directly by the divinity may touch the stars. All others are mistakes. Dangerous. But you've seen that we're more than that," Alan said. "Yes." Speaker Loth's eyes shifted to a deep blue. "The energy you showed us, what you call your consciousness field, it should not be possible in beast species. Yet you have it, and you use it not just for protection but for connection, for love." The word sounded strange in the Vraxian's voice, as if they were still trying to understand the concept. Another Vraxian stepped forward. This one was smaller, with patterns on their robes that looked different from Speaker Loth's. "I am Scholar Marin," the new Vraxian introduced himself. "I study the holy texts. There is a passage that speaks of the divinity revealing itself in unexpected forms. Many of us now believe this refers to your kind." "And others?" Catherine asked. "Others believe you are a trick," Speaker Loth admitted. "A test of our faith. They wish to continue the cleansing." The human representatives exchanged worried glances. The ceasefire might not last. "What would convince them otherwise?" William asked. Scholar Marin tilted their head. "There is a test mentioned in the oldest texts. If a species truly carries the divine spark, they can transform destruction into creation." "What does that mean?" Samantha asked. "It means," Speaker Loth said, "that our supreme hierarch has ordered a final test. A single weapon will be fired at your world. If you are truly divine touched, you will transform its energy." "And if we can't?" Alan asked, though he already knew the answer. "Then the cleansing will continue." The meeting ended with this ultimatum. The humans returned to their base to prepare, knowing they had little time. "We need to connect again," Catherine said as they gathered the awakened who remained. "Everyone, all at once, just like before." "It nearly killed all of us last time," William pointed out. "And it did kill some," Paul Collins said quietly, speaking for the first time in days. "But Ryan would do it again. We all would." The plan spread quickly. All remaining awakened, now nearly 500, would join together when the Vraxian weapon fired. They would attempt to transform its energy, whatever that meant. No one knew exactly what kind of weapon would be used or when it would come. They could only wait and prepare. 2 days later, satellites detected a massive energy buildup in the largest Vraxian ship. The weapon was being prepared. "It's time," Catherine told the assembled awakened at the Colorado base. "Remember, we're not fighting. We're transforming, changing destruction into creation." Around the world, the awakened joined hands. This time, the connection formed much faster. The shared experience from before had created pathways in their minds, making it easier to find each other across the distance. Alan felt the connection grow, spreading around the planet. He could sense Lisa in Chicago, Paul in Colorado beside him, and hundreds of others. Their consciousness merged into a single field that surrounded the Earth like a second atmosphere, glowing blue in the darkness of space. Through the connection, they all sensed the moment the Vraxian weapon fired. A beam of intense red energy shot from the main ship, aimed at the heart of North America. "Don't resist it," Catherine's voice guided them through the connection. "Welcome it. Embrace it. Transform it." As the red beam struck the blue field, pain shot through everyone connected. It felt like fire in their minds. Many faltered, nearly breaking the connection. Then Paul Collins stepped forward in the Colorado base, his hands raised. "For Ryan," he whispered. Something changed in the connection. Instead of trying to block the destructive energy, Paul somehow began to absorb it. Others followed his lead. The pain remained, but now it felt productive, like the pain of healing. The red beam continued to pour down, but now the blue field wasn't just holding it back, it was changing it. Where the energies met, a new color formed, a brilliant purple that spread outward. Through the connection, Alan suddenly understood. The destructive energy carried power, tremendous power. They couldn't fight it, but they could redirect it. Use it. For healing, he thought into the connection. For life. The thought spread. Around the world, the awakened focused their combined will. The purple energy began to flow not upward toward the Vraxian ships, but downward to the Earth itself. Wherever it touched, something miraculous happened. Destroyed buildings began to rebuild. Burnt forests sprouted new growth. Wounds healed. Even the dead, those recently killed in the attacks, began to breathe again. The Vraxian weapon continued firing for several minutes, unintentionally powering the greatest healing Earth had ever experienced. When it finally stopped, the transformation continued as the purple energy spread across the planet. In orbit, the Vraxian ships moved back, observing. Then, one by one, they departed, all except the ship containing Speaker Loth and Scholar Marin. A final message came from them as they prepared to leave. "The test is passed. The prophecy fulfilled. We will return not as cleansers but as students. There is much we must learn about the true nature of divinity." On Earth, as the purple energy gradually faded, people emerged from shelters to find a world partly healed. The worst destruction had been reversed. And in Colorado, Paul Collins sat quietly, tears on his face. Beside him stood his brother Ryan, returned to life by the transformed energy. "I told you," Catherine said, looking up at the sky where the Vraxian ships had been. "We were never beasts. We just needed to awaken our divine power, the power of connection, sacrifice, and love."